Y'all know what time it is. Let me go ahead and pop that music in.
Let's get it
And this
going.
thing and pop it. Come on, music. Hey.
There you go. There you go. Get them hands going.
All right, man. We got a great show for you guys today. We have a special guest joining us on the show for the first time. This is my guy Jorge Martin from the La Familia FFB podcast. He's the founder. This guy does great work. I've worked with him twice in the past to drop some Washington Commanders stuff. To my right, we got the She-Lore in the building. Below him, we have the Resonator.
Let's go.
And I'm your host, Manny. And together we are Dynasty, a fantasy podcast. We are into what, episode 6 or 7? I've lost count. We're having a great time doing this thing. And it's about to be a great show. Jorge, how are you feeling today, my brother?
Oh, with that music, I'm feeling great right now. I am just feeling great. And it's cold out in California, so cold for us, but yeah, I'm grooving now. Love it.
Awesome.
So
how you doing, Tommy?
Hey, listen, man. Having a good time, bro. It's getting late, but listen, I'm ready to go.
Good deal. She-Lore, how you doing, man?
Life is good. New baby in the house. We ready to
Congratulations,
go.
brother.
Congratulations, bro.
Congratulations.
You look like
I
you've
wasn't
actually
sure.
sweat.
Man, it's amazing what this makeup can do, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. Shout out to my stylist, man. We ready to go.
Hey, man, She-Lore, hit us with the current events. I know we got some good stuff going on.
Yeah,
go ahead and drop those current events.
The big thing we're working on right now is just kind of seeing who gets the franchise tag. So that season is now available, and it's going to be some big names out there. The biggest name of all is going to be Mr. Lamar Jackson. Does he get the tag? Did they get a contract extension? Is he going to be on the move? That's the move that's going to actually have the biggest fantasy implications. So that's what we're kind of waiting to see right now. But other than that, it's just been some assistant coaching hirings and different things of that nature. Coaches are starting to round out their coaching staffs and things of that nature. But nothing is game-changing. But the game-changing news is coming soon. Hopefully, we'll find out these franchise tags this week.
Yes, sir, man. Franchise tags. There's going to be some guys that are going to be mad. You got the exclusive, non-exclusive. Are we exclusively dating or are we not exclusively dating? Like, what is going on? Can somebody else come in and snatch you up? So that's what's going on in the NFL landscape. But let's go ahead and dive into Dynasty buys or sells with the NFC West. We have some great teams in this division. You got the 49ers, you have the Seahawks, you have the Rams, and you have the Cardinals. Now, the 49ers, who are your buys or sells? We'll go around the frame. We'll go to She-Lore, and then we'll go to Tommy. Then we'll go ahead and go to Jorge. So, She-Lore, who is your dynasty buy or sell for the 49ers?
So, my dynasty buy right now is going to be none other than Mr. George Kittle at tight end. Because he's a staple in the offense. He's going to stay on the field because he's a dual threat as a run blocker as well as a pass catcher. He's showing great rapport regardless of what quarterback is actually in there. And what's crazy is however the injuries or anything come, he always finds his way in that top 5 landscape. If he can put together a full 17-game season, you're looking at a potential tight end 1. So George Kittle will be my buy for the 49ers.
Good stuff. I like George Kittle a lot. I've liked him more and more over the years. I used to hate him because he continues to get hurt. But then now he's starting to catch a stride. When he's healthy, he puts up some monster numbers, especially in tight end premium. Tommy, who is your buy or sell for the 49ers?
My buy is going to be Brandon Ayuk. I'm loving what he's doing right now. I believe in him more than I believe in Debo. I believe he's a better all-around receiver than Debo, what he gives you. Also, if Trey Lance actually makes it, I think that also takes away from Debo and gives more to Ayuk. But also, my sell is going to be Trey Lance, probably like everybody else's is. I don't believe he's been on the field enough. That was an issue with him in college, and then coming into the NFL, he's still not on the field getting those reps. And I don't see how you can, after party and how he looked, I don't think those fans are going to give him the rope to go out there and not look great or learn on the job. So that's my set.
So one thing about Tommy is that he loves to give people names. You know, he gave this guy a party. He's a party animal. But yeah, that's Brock Purdy. For those of you guys that are trying to figure out who he's saying, he has a Southern accent, so please forgive that Memphis accent that my brother got over there. Jorge, man, who you got?
You know what? I actually got it. I went there. I'm actually buying Trey Lance. I think right now his price is as low as it's going to get, and I'm looking at him. It's like, okay, your Purdy is not going to play next year. He got hurt in January. In baseball, that's a 15-month injury. So they're gonna give Mr. Trey Lance every opportunity to do well. And let's remember what Justin Fields did last year. I mean, they just focused on the running. They've got an awesome offensive line. They've got an incredible defense. I'm just like, everything around him is great. Sheilor, Kittle is going to be his best friend. They, just like Purdy just fed him that. I think, what was it? He had 7 touchdowns in 4 weeks, which included the fantasy playoffs. So he won some championships. I love Trey Lance. Razman, we're gonna have to bet some barbecue on that one.
Let's do it.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Hey man, I love it because I'm a guy who drafted Trey Lance at the 102 in his rookie draft or whatever, and he has not panned out for me. I put him into my taxi, and I think and then 2 other startups I got Trey Lance. I sold him in one, got him back again for Tua. So I actually got Razman on that deal. So yes, it's a perfect time to buy Trey Lance. I mean, I had so for my list, I had CMC's handcuffs. CMC, he's healthy, he's good to go. But to be honest, man, you just never know. Like, you just got to have handcuffs. Like, I'm a handcuff kind of guy. So whether it's Mason, whether it's Price, you just pick somebody, you just put them in your taxi, and if it works out for you, great. Eli Mitchell, that's another great buy. Buy him low. If CMC was to ever go down, one of those guys could possibly be something for you. So those are the buys and sells for the 49ers. Let's go ahead and move on to the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start with Jorge this time. Jorge, who is your dynasty buy or dynasty sell for the Seahawks?
Ooh, well, I'm not going to tease your the wide receivers that you like, but I'm going to go Ken Walker.
Okay.
I think second year, he's healthy. They rebuilt that offensive line a little bit more. Geno looked good last year. I think DK and Lockett. They're probably going to add a defensive player unless they go crazy and add a quarterback to try and get like an Anthony Richardson or something like that, which would be incredibly sexy in Seattle. But but Ken Walker, he's going into year 2 when guys usually take that big step up, and give me 3 more healthy years out of him. I'll take that. Let's
go. Sheilor, what about you?
So I'm going to kind of go off the grid a little bit here. I'm going to go Tyler Lockett. And the reason why I'm going Tyler Lockett is because regardless of what goes on, he's going to produce. And because he's up there in age, he's the perfect target for a contending team to go ahead and grab and actually put into a flex spot. He's always going to be open. He always is making big plays. Regardless of the quarterback, you kind of see everything that's going on. What I love about him is he's definitely a leader in the locker room, and he had great rapport with Geno Smith. So Tyler Lockett is someone I'll be targeting. I wouldn't pay more than a 2nd-round pick for him, maybe like a mid-2nd-round pick. And the profile of the team, this is actually a championship team. They'll be looking to acquire Tyler Lockett. If you're not a championship caliber team, he's not the guy for you. But he's definitely someone that can actually bring home a trophy for you this year if you go grab him.
I love it. Raz, what about you?
Give me DK Metcalf. And the reason I say that is because right now you're buying him lower than you've ever been able to buy him for. So, and he's giving you consistent production. And I honestly believe that Lockett is fading out. I don't think Lockett is a bad buy. I think he's going to give you more production than where you draft him at. I do believe that. But I believe his production at this point is going to decrease, where DK's is going to increase. So I'm loving where you can get DK at right now.
So what you're saying, my brother, is decrease so that he may increase. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I heard.
So
he must go down so I can rise up. That's what I heard.
Like the way you put it.
Love it.
Hey, that's good. That's good. So for me, my buy is actually Noah Fant. Noah Fant is so disrespected. He's talented, but the thing is, for some reason that it hasn't worked in that system, right? They're using multiple tight ends, sometimes 3 tight ends, right? But he's a guy that nobody really cares about right now. He was a first round, talent, first round graded talent. I love Noah Fant. Hopefully, the Seattle Seahawks get another quarterback, maybe somebody who likes to use the tight end a lot. So he's a guy that I'm buying because even if the Seahawks don't re-sign him and he goes somewhere and it's a perfect situation, he can ball out. So that's my buy, and he's pretty cheap right now. You can possibly get him for like a third, maybe a second, depending on if it's tight end premium or not. So Noah Fant is my buy. Let's go ahead and move on to the Rams. Tommy, who is your buy or sell for the Rams?
All right, guys, welcome me here. Tutu Atwell is going to be my buy.
Okay.
Listen, I'm loving Tutu. I liked what he did in college, and I just don't. I think he hadn't really had that great opportunity. He had that guy that was not so great at football throwing to him last year, but this time when he gets the starter back, I forget his name at the moment, but
Stafford.
Stafford. When Stafford comes back, if Tutu's a focal point for them, I think Tutu's going to do very, very well, and you can buy him very, very cheap right now. So Tutu's my buy.
I mean, he was drafted in the second round. So, I mean, it's about time that his small tail starts doing something. Sheila, who do you got?
Give me the quarterback of the Rams, Mr. Matthew Stafford. Literally, we're looking at a guy who was a top 5 dynasty quarterback the year before. He came into the year hurt, and it showed. But I think now having a full offseason to recover, having the fact that Sean McVay is returning, and he is returning with who is probably one of the best receivers in football, Mr. Cooper Kupp. I believe with that Tutu Atwell pickup, because I think that's what they were missing, that vertical element to kind of stretch the field out. I think Matthew Stafford is prime for a top 10 season. He's someone that you can definitely buy very low right now coming off the injury. So he's definitely someone that I'm targeting as well in startup drafts and everywhere I can get my hands on Matthew Stafford.
Good deal. I'm going to go next before Jorge steals mine. I'm going Cam Akers. I loved what Cam Akers was able to do the last 6 games of the season. He's a guy, he's a sneaky buy for me. He's a guy that I'm getting in startups. I don't really know what kind of price to pay for him in a regular trade, just because with the running back landscape, until I know landing spots, until I know what the Rams actually decide to do in the offseason or even in the draft, I'm not messing with Cam Akers right now, but he's definitely on my list. He's definitely a sneaky back. When he's healthy, he's always balled out. It's just, can he be healthy, and can the Rams actually put everything together with the passing game and the running game? If that happens, man, this guy, the sky's the limit for him. Jorge, who's your guy?
Oh man, I was gonna sell Cam. So just because he had that big end to the season.
Yep.
So that I especially that in the fantasy semifinals. So I thought, you know what, I could probably capitalize and get a little bit higher pick, and get something something a little bit better. Maybe get one of get a second round pick, get a running back that gets drafted this year. So that's to me the thing with Cam Akers, where I just look at that, because I have this sneaking feeling. I haven't heard much. They haven't heard much on draft strategy, but I could see them drafting a running back in like the second or third round. This draft is so deep, so deep. So
I mean, I feel you. And for me, I'm not going to pay more than 209 for Cam Akers right now today.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But after the draft, if they don't pick up anybody, and let's say in free agency they get some kind of guy that he can beat out, then guess what? That price rises. And then I'm like, oh, I got 201. I got 201. Who's willing to deal? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a combination of different things. But yeah, he's definitely a sell now if you can get the value for him. Let's go ahead and go to the Cardinals. The Cardinals, man, I'm gonna go first. I'm selling Kyler Murray. I know Sheila's probably thinking the same. I'm selling Kyler Murray, man. He is a sell. New coach, injury, but he's also a buy low for me. I'm only buying if somebody, like I've seen a trade. Somebody traded Kyle Pitts and got Kyler Murray. I'd rather have Kyler Murray than have Kyle Pitts, even in the tight end premium. I know it's crazy, but Kyler Murray can still, you can then flip Kyler Murray for more than Pitts. You can. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jorge on this one, then we'll go around.
Yeah, you know what? The guy I'm buying is Marquise Goodwin
Mm.
on that team because I really feel like it. I mean, all of the vibes are saying that DeAndre Hopkins is going to get traded this year. They're going to get what they can for him, and I'm just like Goodwin is going to be the guy.
But who's the quarterback?
Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown. I'm sorry, not Hollywood Brown.
We'll follow
It was Marquise though, so I was hanging out with you, man. You're good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Holly. Well, yeah. Who's going to throw it to him? I think Colt McCoy, who was a professional, is or who
or me. I mean,
it could be
we're about the same.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy who? Oh, McSorley. Yeah, I'll take you over McSorley. He cost me a fantasy championship, by the way. Gosh.
Man.
Oh, he could not find DeAndre Hopkins. You know, it was just like, oh, but yeah, that's why I think Marquise Brown is going to become the guy, and I think he's going to see plenty. I think he's going to see plenty of balls.
Mhm.
Well, it's just going to be him and Rondale Moore getting it. Zach Ertz is probably going to be rehabbing his ACL surgery for a bunch of the season. Maybe Trey McBride is something, but I think it's going to be a Marquise Brown, wide receiver 1 there. So I'm buying him.
What about you, Raz?
Oh, you know what? I was gonna say I'm buying all of their receivers, but talking about Marquise, Rondale, and Dortch. But I'm actually gonna take Rondale out, and I'm just gonna say Marquise and Dortch. I want both of them. Rondale's been hurt a lot, so it kind of depends on that. If Rondale's hurt, man, Dortch gets points. He gets buckets as soon as he gets on the field. I'm loving Dortch. You can get Dortch very, very cheap. So I'm that guy that wants to buy receivers really cheap where I can get them, and so Dortch for me.
Tommy, let me ask you this: have you seen that movie Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
All right, you know those little people? What do they call those guys?
The little people.
Yeah, was it the Hobbits?
The Hobbits. Yeah, the Hobbits.
That's who these guys present.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, they present these guys as wide receivers, and it's crazy to me. Nobody is taller than 5'9".
Exactly.
Okay, it's amazing, man. Wow, they should be called the New York small peoples. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to get canceled on YouTube.
I know.
What you got?
Okay, so listen, y'all already made a reference to it, but the only wide receiver and the only piece that I want on this offense is the piece that's actually probably leaving. Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, a fantasy staple, literally has all of the tools in the toolbox. Literally comes in, he's going to get 10 targets wherever he goes. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 when he walks in the door. And what's crazy is you can get him dirt cheap right now. So DeAndre Hopkins is my buy. He's shown it year over year, time after time. I believe that a reunion is coming for him and Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. Y'all heard it here first. When that happens, and now you have a receiving core with him and Amari Cooper, that whole offense goes to the moon. So want to see it happen. Of course, they're going to have to work some salary cap magic. But seeing those two reunite is going to be an amazing thing, and that's what I'm calling right now. DeAndre Hopkins is my buy.
Hey,
wow,
they would take, man.
They would compliment it.
How would they get him?
Well, they've already announced that DeAndre Hopkins is up for trade. They're going to actually move on from him, which makes a lot of sense considering Kyler Murray is probably going to miss some time coming into the season. So literally looking at a trade. We already saw that the Browns took advantage of the Cowboys and got Amari Cooper for dirt cheap. I can see them actually doing the same thing because they have to make sure the Deshaun Watson experience works. And what better way to make that happen than to reunite him with his teammate here in Houston?
That's true. I just noticed that early in the offseason, the Cardinals were asking for 1 for him. And I'm like,
they're not. Nobody.
Everyone always starts out up here, and that's
like,
they go, and nobody's going to give them 1 for a 30-year receiver. Then they come down to it.
But the other part is the contract. The contract is like $20 million, right? It's like 20-something million.
Yeah.
Like, how can they afford that? So that's something to look at.
Jorge's out in L.A. Some kind of way, the Rams make all kinds of numbers and contracts and things fit.
Yeah,
what I've known is that whenever you want to make something happen, you can always make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Someone restructures a contract and everything like that. A guy gets
a signing
cut.
bonus that turns into like that crazy Taysom Hill contract we saw with the Saints the year before.
Yes.
They can make all kinds of stuff happen when they want to under that salary cap.
True.
I'd love to see that because I would love to see him and Cooper playing off each other. That would just be that'd be tasty as Tennessee barbecue.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Texas too.
So guys, man, sorry to ruin the mood, but we're about to talk about a guy that is about to he's asking for what $200 million and 40 something million dollars a year. And I used to call him Daniel Apple Turnover Jones, and he played well last year. I got to give him credit. He played well last year. This guy wants some money. Okay. So I'm kind of like, with the money, but then he holds all the cards. When you do not re-sign these guys and you wait for the moment that, hey, their contract is out and they play well, they might never play well ever again. But you told them, go out there and perform, and if you perform, you get a contract. He now performs, but now he wants more money. So the question for everybody, including myself, we'll start with Shilor. Do you think that Daniel Jones is a dynasty QB1? That's the first question. Second question, do you think he deserves the money that he's asking for? And then the third question is,
This is good.
Third question is, how do you think this even shakes out for the Giants? Because they can end up losing Daniel Jones and they can end up losing Saquon Barkley. And then guess what? They're rebuilding once again. It could be Tyrod Taylor? He might be a guy that we all might want to buy right now. If he's out there in your free agent market, go scoop him because we don't really know what's to come for the Giants and Daniel Jones. Let's kick it off with Shilor.
Okay, so first question, is he a dynasty QB1? No. Let me tell you why. Although he had a great finish to the year last year, a lot of that was helped by the rushing and everything from there. I think the argument for him is the fact that there was no real competent receivers out there, right? So there's a potential to actually have everything go up. But Coach of the Year, Brian Daboll, the reason why I'm kind of out on Josh Allen is the fact that he did lose Daboll, is an offensive genius. And if we can see Daniel Jones look as bad as he's looked in the first few years of his career, now come in and actually look competent and actually lead the team to the playoffs, then why can't he do that with another quarterback?
Yep.
Especially for the asking price. If he's asking for $40 million, I'm afraid for the Giants organization if they decide to pay that, because I think they're going to put themselves in a very worse situation than the Cowboys are right now with Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. So I don't see them re-signing him. I believe they do a franchise tag on Saquon Barkley, not to lose him. And then I think Daniel Jones actually comes to his senses, because when they put the fillers out there, nobody's giving that guy $40 million. So no, he's not a QB1. No, I don't believe he gets the contract that he believes he deserves. And, the Giants give it to him. I'm an NFC East, Commanders fan. I'm all for it. Let's go do it. But I think it's a terrible decision for the Giants organization. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I agree with some of the things that you've said. Tommy, your viewpoints.
Get Daniel Jones TF out of here. You feel me? Listen, this guy, 15 passing touchdowns. Are you serious? And you want $50 million? The Giants would be crazy to give this man that type of money. Especially when you don't have to. You can franchise tag him and make him do it again at a reasonable price. So no. And then as far as top 10, no. It was just a down year for quarterback in Dynasty. I do believe he can be a top 15 consistently, and with Daboll. But back to Shilor's point, if Daboll can do it with broke arm Daniel Jones, I mean, he can do it with somebody else. I mean, I just think that's a very, very bad investment for them. I think if they can I would tag him and either try to trade him or just make him play, and see if he can do it again. So that's me.
Jorge, what about you?
Oh, Timeout Sports just pointed out, they need weapons. And so you're gonna pay out everything. You're gonna pay big money for Daniel Jones, and then you got to put receivers around him somehow get some guys in there. So I honestly think they're gonna franchise tag him, give him another year to actually prove himself, and make him earn that big contract. If he takes a step forward from the passing side in the second half of the season after they had the bye, I was looking. He looked a lot better. He had that big game. He had 2 big games against Minnesota, but then Manny would have thrown for 350 against Minnesota too. So, uh, uh, and but no, I look at I think he did take some steps forward, but he needs some guys. He could use a DeAndre Hopkins. He could use a a stud number 1 wide receiver to be out there. He needs steps up from Darius Slayton. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to miss a chunk of the season with his ACL surgery. So I just look at I look at Daniel Jones. I really like the progress, but Tommy, the Razman, you said it, 15 touchdowns. I mean, it's like that's what, like 3 million. Yeah, he's asking for what, like 3 million per touchdown. So
yeah, it's crazy.
I like the running. And you know what? Gotta love the nickname Vanilla Vic.
There you go.
I don't see it holding up, and I also think that he's had weapons. They've tried to give him weapons. They tried to give him Shepard. They tried to give him Galladay. They tried to give him. They brought somebody else in. They tried to put weapons around him. Now you could say they might not be very good weapons. I'm just saying they have tried to put weapons around him.
Okay, Tommy, those are not weapons. Okay.
Okay.
So
let's take Saquon Barkley out then.
Let's take a look at the biggest weapon. You're forgetting the biggest weapon this guy has gotten is Dayball. Let's just get that out the way. So you were out here mentioning Shepard always hurt, like Time Out Sports is saying, and Galladay. Those aren't weapons. Those aren't weapons.
And Kadarius Toney, they have tried to bring guys in.
So even with Toney, what did he do in Kansas City?
Didn't do anything.
Score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Had a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but I'm saying, like, it took him some time. He's gotten into his own, and he's with the right system, right? So what I'm looking at is to fix the Giants. Let me take a different angle. See, you tell teams to go and find a franchise quarterback, right? Not every franchise quarterback is created equally. Like, there's only one Mahomes. There's only one Joe Burrow. There's only one of these kinds of guys, and it's so hard to get these guys, right? So these guys ended up with Daniel Jones, right? You bring in the right coach, and oh my goodness, it worked. Everybody looks at the 15 touchdowns and say, 15 touchdowns is this and that. Daniel Jones has more playoff wins than a lot of you guys' favorite quarterbacks. Okay? So let's just go ahead and get that out the way. Now, a guy like Kirk Cousins, he bet on himself, blah, blah, blah. I think he has one playoff win, and that was against Drew Brees. But to get these playoff wins in football is so tough. And to go ahead and draft your quarterback, he finally make something work after 5 years, and we don't even know who this guy really is. So yes, you franchise tag him. I agree with you guys. You franchise tag him and you say, man, do it again. But here's what happens. If they draft this guy a weapon, let's say JSN, or let's say Addison or somebody like that, that's the only way they're going to be able to bring in premier talent. Because if you are franchise tagging him and you want to keep Saquon Barkley, it's a lot that you got to pay. And this is a guy, Saquon Barkley, they drafted in the first round. You don't draft running backs in the first round for the same reason here. Now you can't keep him because he becomes so expensive. Paying the running back and paying the quarterback, that's insane, right? So the only way that you can bring in real talent is to draft the guys that will never come to the Giants, okay? Kenny Galladay came there because it was a holy overpay, and he was wholly trash, okay? So that didn't work. Sterling Shepard, great talent. I love him. He just can't stay healthy, right? Kadarius Toney, head case. He just didn't work. Even from the day one he stepped in there, they just didn't like him for whatever the reason was, right? Wan'Dale Robinson, he's another Hobbit, okay? He's discredited. He's hurt. So it's like 15 touchdowns with what he had. Thank God for Hodges. Hodges came out of nowhere, okay? So it's a blessing that they were able to get Hodges, who you all love, right? But they got to get weapons in. So here's what I'm looking at. If this coach is as truly as talented as you guys say, if he's a true offensive genius and he's able to do this thing with Daniel Jones and no weapons, just imagine if you add some receiving talent to this team. Bellinger, he's okay. I'm gonna let Tommy talk in a minute. Bellinger, he's okay. All I'm saying is, in order to make this thing work and in order to get more than 15 touchdowns, because he did have 7 rushing touchdowns. He did have 700 yards rushing. So don't forget that. Don't discredit what this guy has done. They won games. They won games that they were not supposed to win with the level of weapons they had. Okay? Maybe it's just Dayball just being Dayball. But this offense right here, outside of Saquon Barkley, reminds me of the Commanders for the past 5 years when it was Haskins and Alex Smith. It was a struggling offense, and for him to have 15 touchdowns, I don't even know where the 15 touchdowns came from. It's amazing to me. Now, the money he's asking for is crazy, but guess what? You make him do it again. And if he does it again, guess what? He holds all the cards. They got to pay him whatever he wants or he's out. Tommy?
First thing I want to do is just let everybody know that it's a Skins fan that's telling the Giants to go and overpay Daniel Jones, and I think it's a little bit to that when you look at it. The other thing is, I'm rehashing, but you're saying give them receivers, and I'm saying they tried that. You can't say they didn't try that.
They gave him the wrong one. Dayball wasn't there.
Okay,
Dayball is here now. He's the genius, right?
Maybe it wasn't the right ones. I mean,
so let's see what Dayball do.
He's a coach.
But he's a genius, right? He's an offensive genius, right? According to some of you guys. So let's see what
I don't know if he can turn water into wine. Just a good coach, that can win games.
They put some weapons around that man, and let's just see how great this coach of the year it really is.
Let me jump in here. Did you watch the Buffalo Bills offense the year before? Mm-hmm. Everybody, did y'all see that offense?
Yeah.
Did y'all see any of those offensive elements? Like did the Giants offense this year look like the Bills offense that we saw the year before? The answer to that is absolutely not. He literally put them in a great situation. He kept the training wheels on, and they relied and they won games on their defense and running the ball. You do not give a game manager QB1 money. Whenever you do that, that's a recipe for disaster. We've seen that over and over again. My thing is very simple. If he's not the guy, go grab somebody that's potentially the guy. I would love to see Brian Daboll get his hands on Anthony Richardson. Because, of course, you got questions. Let's go ahead and get answers. You go ahead and put Anthony Richardson in that system. You've already replaced the rushing from day one. But now you have the same ceiling and the same raw elements that you're looking at talent-wise that you saw in Buffalo with Josh Allen. So my thing is, don't overpay. Get somebody on a rookie deal, bring them in, bring back Saquon Barkley, and let Daniel Jones walk because he's not doing that anywhere else.
Okay, here's my rebuttal to that. So you let Daniel Jones walk, you bring in Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson is 2 years away. That's just me. So now you're going backwards. You're going backwards to then go forward later.
Is he 2 years away? Because I didn't think Lamar Jackson was 2 years away. I mean, we look at it. We look at this. This is Daniel Jones. They're 4 years into this project, Manny. Like, you got to see it for what it is. This is year 4, and this was the Hail Mary bringing in the offensive mind coach. And he only got 15 touchdowns out there. And they won games because of their defense. Their defense is the reason why they won those games. Saquon Barkley single-handedly won 3 games for them. If Saquon Barkley's out on this team, if Saquon Barkley doesn't be a part of this offense, you're not seeing Daniel Jones. The threat of him rushing is because of Saquon Barkley. So if you tell me you're bringing a more athletic quarterback in Anthony Richardson, then why would you need a Daniel Jones that you can put on a rookie deal? Why would you invest $40 million? If you spend $40 million on Daniel Jones, you can't improve your team anyway.
So you're telling me that Anthony Richardson can come here with the same weapons that are here and they can win more games?
They wouldn't have to come with the same weapons because they're not giving him $40 million. That's the point. But that's the point. If you give him $40 million and you bring back Saquon at 15, you're done on getting weapons. The only opportunity you have is in the draft. And then they had a guy last year in Evan Ingram who looked phenomenal away from the Giants, away from Daniel Jones. That's the piece that we're looking at. It's not that he hasn't had opportunity. It's that he doesn't give people the ball. It's that he has open receivers and he misses them. It's that he has an open slant. He has different things. You saw Brian Daboll get into it with him on several occasions for missing people who are open, not doing the basic stuff, the fundamental things that win games. The Giants were fortunate to actually end up in the playoffs because of a weak NFC. That's the only reason why they were in the playoffs. Daniel Jones is not a top 10.
Weak NFC. Yeah, you're right.
NFC. Absolutely. You saw the Rams go down with their quarterback. You saw the Cardinals go down with their quarterback. We saw Geno Smith turn water into wine and get into the playoffs. We saw the whole NFC South struggle. None of those teams deserve to be in the playoffs. Look at it. There was a weak NFC. You saw Dak injured for a stretch of games. That was probably the weakest conference across the board. The only team that was really viable in that whole conference probably was the 49ers and the Eagles last year. That was it.
Vikings were straight, but they showed who they
That
really were.
defense lets you know what time it is. Daniel
Yep.
Jones lit them up twice.
Yep.
That's all I need to say. Daniel
Mhm.
Jones lit that defense up twice.
Mhm.
If you take out that one game versus Minnesota and then you now look at his stats,
Mhm.
trash.
Yeah, I feel
I
you.
think those were his only 300-yard games.
Only
Both
games
against- both
versus,
against
the,
Minnesota.
versus the Vikings,
Hey,
the worst defense in the league.
I hope the Giants let Daniel Jones go, and I hope they switch up whatever they were doing to win games. I hope everything goes to the gutter. Switch it
so-
up, mess
I
up,
hope they
mess up
pay
the
him.
chemistry,
Give
whatever.
him $50 million.
Whatever the magic was. I'm not saying pay him that kind of money.
Go
That's not what I'm saying.
Commanders. Give him $50
What I'm
million.
saying is when this guy leaves, everything is not going to be everything. There's a reason why they were winning games. For whatever the reason was, it worked. When you tweak things look differently. It's easier said than done. Bringing this guy, bringing that guy, that's cool. Matter of fact, I want them to bring in somebody else. I want them to scatter their team. I want them to go a whole different direction. That's great for me. I'm a Commanders fan. I care less what they do. But if I'm them, I will try to figure out a way to make everything work. They got to compromise. But if they don't, even better for me. Bring in somebody else. It's even better.
So I got a question.
Yeah, there you go.
What if he gets a Stephon Diggs type wide receiver? Could that kind of guy make a big enough difference the way Diggs did for Josh Allen in 2020? And I mean, I'm not saying he's going to take that huge jump and 15 touchdowns turns into 35, but 15 could turn into 25 and you still got the rushing element. Then but
to me, Daniel Jones is a guy that needs a lot of weapons around him to look good. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is a great quarterback. All I'm saying is whatever they got going on is great. Why not add to it? But they can't because of money issues. Great. So it's all around great for me being a Commanders fan. But these guys like Daniel Jones, you need a lot around him to make him look better than what he is. You need wide receivers that fit the system. You need tight ends that fit the system. And then if he can't make the plays, guess what? Like you franchise tag him, like you guys are saying, right? He gets the weapons, and if it doesn't work, you get him out of there. All I'm saying is they built something special. It would suck for them to break it up, but they got to figure out how to make this thing work. I think they can continue to build. See, I'm a Commanders fan. I've been a fan since 1999. How many times have I seen the playoffs? Playoffs? Okay. And then now we want to say playoffs. How many playoff wins? Okay. Franchise quarterbacks, man, I've seen them all. Every color, every creed. I've seen black quarterbacks, white quarterbacks, scrambling quarterbacks, throwing quarterbacks. So when you got something good, it might have been like, I think the Giants were a team that were a mistake. They found themselves winning, like you said. They were winning weird games like 19-12. But they got something special brewing. That's how it starts. It starts as a mistake, and then it starts to build into something special. That defense is great. What they got going on is great. Saquon is the focal point of that offense, yes, right? But for some reason, I feel like if they break it up, things might not work. So you got to build upon what worked. And if it wasn't Daniel Jones, then it wasn't Daniel Jones, and that's fine.
Here's my question for you, Manny. I think we can dance with this. Daniel Jones hits free agency. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be the Commanders quarterback?
Nope.
I rest my case.
Nope. All I'm saying is whatever that worked for the Giants, work for the Giants. I'm telling you, I've been a Commanders fan for a long time where we built something that looks similar to a team that can do something, right? And then you tweak it, and guess what? The next year you win 5 games.
Let's speak on that. I like the Commanders quarterback situation with the new offensive coordinator better than I like Daniel Jones right now.
I can see that, but I haven't
really
until they show me something. I haven't seen anything. Hopefully it works for my squad, obviously, but until I see a product, I can't speak on that. I can't see the future.
Yeah, I think that's the big piece right there, right? So the Commanders, we would say, are a team that's a quarterback away. The Giants, we would say, is a team that's a receiving core away.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing. I think that's a great way to kind of look at both of them. Definitely see the points that you're making there, Manny. Those elite diva type wide receivers, I think what happens is that might create more issues for Daniel Jones. The guy that we saw really come in and really make a big difference was actually Isaiah Hutchins. When he got in there already knowing the offense and actually coming in and kind of knowing exactly what's going on, that was the difference maker. And he wasn't someone that was actually, clamoring for the ball, that kind of thing, because we saw the chemistry never really connected him with him and Kenny Golladay. So I think you have to kind of look at that. I think maybe drafting someone would be the best option to kind of go on that particular piece if you're going to make it work. But definitely kind of see the points. Definitely appreciate
Hey,
all of
I
you.
got one question for all of you guys. Let's say that the Giants let Daniel Jones go, and that's most likely what's going to happen because of the money that he's commanded. What if they bring in a guy like Taylor Heineke? Let's just say Taylor Heineke. Do you think that Dayball can work with Taylor Heineke and get that offense going? What do you think?
I think it'll look similar.
I think it looks the exact same. But I think what happens is what you're looking at is with him coming in at $10 million a season, now you can go grab additional pieces. And he's actually shown rapport with elite receivers. So if you give a talented running back and you give a mobile quarterback great coaching, I think it makes a big difference when you're kind of looking at that. So I think it looks very similar.
One thing I want to say before we go ahead and transition, Daniel Jones doesn't get a credit for not turning over the ball this year. He had 5 interceptions. Look, the biggest number was the 5 interceptions over the 15 touchdowns because this guy, not only does he throw interceptions, he fumbles like crazy. I mean, this guy will trip on himself and fumble. You are muted, Raz.
No, I was saying that all goes with Saquon Barkley being healthy
absolutely,
this year
absolutely,
too. So,
absolutely.
You got to pay attention to that part.
And also, that duo, they ran for like over 2,000 yards combined and 20 touchdowns.
They brought it.
That was Daniel Jones and what's his name? They were doing their little thing. It worked. It worked. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that, but like you said, I love that point of bringing in Anthony Richardson. If he can do those same type running things with, Saquon Barkley, and they're actually moving the chains and taking care of the ball, it all's going to boil down to whoever they bring in. That person has to just game manage, take care of the ball, and actually run the ball. They have to, get that mobile sense of a quarterback that's going to game manage. That's what Daniel Jones was able to do last year, game manage with the weapons that he had. And he didn't turn over the ball. I think that was the biggest thing. And some of the games the Giants won, to me, were lucky, man. When you tell me, how are the Giants winning? I was confused.
Yeah.
I was confused the whole time. I'm like, these guys, are they good? They're really good. And then they play the Vikings. I'm like, oh, they're really good. No, they're not, because the Vikings aren't good. So it was a confusing season for me. And I'm glad I'm not a GM, because I would have the Giants in a wrong spot. But let's just see what happens to them. I hope the whole thing doesn't work for them, being a Commanders fan. George, last take on this before we transition to the last topic.
On Heineke, I think the only reason Heineke looked pretty good last year is the fact that he was throwing to Terry McLaurin a lot, 33% of the time, and he was throwing, and he got Jahan Dotson. That to me, I think you put him with this receiving core, and it looks pretty ugly. I think it looks pretty ugly. But I hope Daniel Jones comes there, because I'd like to see him. I think he himself would take a step backward, leaving Daboll. And that will he's got to factor that into how he's going to be, because especially if he's going to do a franchise tag or do a 1-year deal, something like that, he's going to have to he's going to have to go somewhere where he's going to be like, where he's got a great offensive mind helping him. I mean, because we saw what he is when he's got Joe Judge and those guys call him plays. It's not pretty.
That's the best point of the night. I think you hit it right on the head. Like I said, the system works for him. The numbers and the product might not be the best, but for some reason, it just works between those two guys. It works. It works.
So where are we
the money
taking
he's
Daniel
asking
Jones
for is crazy, huh?
So where are we taking Daniel Jones in a startup?
That's a great question. For me, I never touch him. I don't, because for me to be drafting a Daniel Jones, that means I'm in desperate. My receivers better be crazy good. My tight ends, everything got to be good for me to be grabbing Daniel Jones in the 8th round. That's where I would go Daniel Jones, but he usually goes around 6th, 7th round.
But
to me, he's worth the 8th round.
I'll say he's going around 5, 6. He's going a lot because people are looking at those numbers, those rushing yards, those rushing touchdowns, and they're falling in love with that. I
That
think that's
Konami
scary.
code.
Yeah, I think that's scary. So I don't have Daniel Jones in any
Yeah.
dynasty startup.
I think I found, and this is really big, knowing your league, right? I know a guy loved Daniel Jones, and I took him right in front of him, and then I traded him for a first round pick and a second round pick, and I was very happy about that. So, know your league mates, but won't catch Daniel Jones on any of my teams.
I've sold Daniel Jones 2 times for 24 first each time. So, hey, you got to get the people what they
Wow.
want, man. It's all
Yeah.
about knowing, like he says, know your league mates, know who wants what,
The
and
guy
you give them
celebrated.
what they want.
He got in the chat and he started celebrating that he got Daniel Jones.
Yep. And I'm gonna laugh when Daniel Jones leaves and goes somewhere else, and he's back to regular Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones should stick with this guy. This guy literally changed his life. He needs to stick with the guy that has made him relevant. So let's go ahead and go to the last topic of the night, and that's my top 15 dynasty rankings. You guys are free to roast me on this. This is my rankings. I mean, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. I have some controversial stuff. I've had some people, comment on the YouTube channel after seeing my list, so I couldn't get it on the screen. So I'm just gonna just read it out to you guys. We're gonna go 5 at a time, okay? And after I read the first 5, we'll just go around the frames real quick. Tell me, hey, who should be there? Who shouldn't be there? This guy's too high. This guy's too low, or whatever the case may be. So my first 5. Should I do the bottom 5 first, or first 5 first?
Start from
Bottom.
Bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So like,
Bottom
yeah,
to the
from
top.
worst to best.
Okay.
Yeah.
From worst to best.
Yeah.
Okay. So at 15, I have Chris Olave.
Okay.
The guy that I left out was Drake London. Okay.
Okay.
So
I
any
can see
thoughts
that.
on that?
I think they're close. I think when you're starting to look at receivers and you're starting to kind of figure out situations, I think they're both in a situation where they should be able to elevate. But 15 and 16 are really splitting hairs to me. Like, I think they both are in the right position there for me.
Absolutely. I mean, I love both guys. I was a late bloomer for Drake London. Never believed in him until late. I had to see for myself. And man, he's a beast. He's a beast. He's going to be used. And then the target share that he's going to get is crazy. But I liked Chris Olave more just because Chris Olave can do a lot of different things. And he has shown that he's quarterback proof. So that's
So
what I'm
quick
looking
question.
at.
Who you take? Listen, I guess this would be for all of us. Who are you taking first in a dynasty startup league? Olave or London?
I'm taking Olave.
I'm
What
taking
about
London.
you? What about you guys?
Olave.
I'm kind
See,
of
for
either
me,
or. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
for
either
me.
or.
I think
So
They're the
Olave
same
is
tier to
cheaper.
me.
Yeah, same tier.
Same tier, but I think Olave is cheaper on the ADP. I'm not sure, but I typically.
But you're believing that Olave is going to have a good quarterback, and I'm saying, hey, we're
I'm
not
saying
sure
Olave
about
is
that yet.
quarterback proof.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I've seen this guy play with Andy Dalton, and he balled out. I loved him better with Jameis Winston. Plays with
talk
Andy
to you about
Dalton
Andy
and
Dalton.
still, huh?
Tell you about Andy Dalton, man. Way
Played with
better.
Andy Dalton. He balled out. Andy Dalton was trash. He's trash to me. So, if he can do that with Andy Dalton, he can do it with anybody. So that's what I'm looking at.
Andy Dalton made that Green, AJ Green or whatever his name was.
AJ Green.
Yeah.
Okay,
Made him
that's
almost a Hall of
interesting.
Famer. I love Olave. I think he exploded right off the bat, and that was the thing. And London didn't come on until the latter part of the season, and
With a
I
better
don't
quarterback.
see with a better quarterback, and I don't see Olave doing much. I'm sorry, I don't see London having the target share that Olave is going to get.
Okay.
I mean, if Olave loses Michael Thomas, I mean, if the Saints move on from Michael Thomas, unless they draft a wide receiver that comes in, and this is a pretty good wide receiver class, probably not as good as the one Olave was in, but I just think Olave is going to be an alpha dog in that lineup, and we're going to be looking at him taking, like, instead of being 1,000-yard receiver, he's going to be like a 1,200-yard receiver with eight touchdowns. And I don't know if London gets there with Desmond Ridder as his quarterback.
I can see London getting bunch of targets, bunch of catches, maybe like 1,000 yards, but like 90 catches, 1,000 yards. But the touchdowns, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Based off of, so this ranking is based off of how things are at this moment. We're not talking about what quarterbacks they could have. We look at, I rank these guys on some potential, but I kind of just base things off of where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the next guy on my list was Devontae Adams, then T. Higgins. So 14, 13, Devontae Adams at 14, T. Higgins at 13.
I like it. How old is Devontae?
I think he's 30.
I'm looking it up right now.
Is he 29 or
30.
is he 30? He's 30.
Even
30.
with his age, see, look, here's the thing. People always say, oh, this guy's old, but these guys didn't die.
Right.
These guys are still part of the dynasty format. You're going to have to see these guys, whether it's startups, whether it's even against you that want to go with the younger guys. You might see a guy with some of these OGs, and they're going to light you up. So Devontae Adams, it was hard for me to keep him out of my top 15, even with his age. Jorge?
Devontae, I kind of feel he was too low.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why
okay.
that's it.
And
That's
you know
it.
what? And you know
That's
what? I
it.
respect it. I
That's
respect it. I respect it. I
Even
respect
at 30.
it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
even at 30.
he turns 31 on Christmas Eve. So, but I mean I don't
He's so
think
good.
he didn't lose a step. He looked
He-
every bit as good as he was with Aaron Rodgers. Had some absolutely game-breaking wide receiver 1 weeks, wide receiver 1 overall, where he destroyed. To me, I meant when I listened to this, I made a mental note. Was this having to do with the quarterback uncertainty?
That's some of it. Quarterback, age. The
Yeah.
only weakness in this guy's game right now is not knowing his quarterback and his age. And that's not really even a weakness. He's still highly productive. Like I said, this list was so tough for me. T. Higgins at 13.
I would have
Um,
Olave over Higgins personally, but that's just me.
And I can see, some people told me I had T. Higgins too low. The reason why I had T. Higgins at 13 was because, man, Jamar Chase is still there.
That's a bad.
We know
man.
we've been hearing rumors that, hey, he might get traded. Does he get traded, Shelor?
I don't believe so. I think what they're looking at and what they have brewing over there is something special. And I think at this point, it doesn't make any sense for me to move off of T. Higgins. I think what they have offensively is great. The guy I think that's going to be gone is going to be Boyd as a third receiver.
Yeah.
I think he's out, and I think they definitely want to go ahead and get them another tight end. This team right here, if they actually got a Kincaid or a Mayer, I think it goes to a different level. And I also look for Joe Mixon to be gone. I think Joe Mixon's
Yeah.
out.
He's
Okay.
out.
Yeah, they're
So
gonna save some
T.
money.
Higgins higher than 13, lower than 13.
I think 13 is
13 's
perfect
fine.
for him. I think he's just right. I think Devontae, I think we're all kind of in agreement. We probably will go up. I mean, you got to look at the production. Derek Carr was awful last year,
Mhm.
and he finished as wide receiver 3. Like,
1,500 yards.
if he gets reunited with Aaron Rodgers, as we are kind of speculating, it's on.
Yeah. But it's like the other question is, are you taking Devontae Adams over a lot of these young dynasty assets? That's another thing. It is dynasty.
Yeah.
You do think longevity. So I guess it's based off of what kind of formula are you going for? Are you going for a win now? Are you going for a win later? So philosophy also has a play in it as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always a 2 to 3 year window. Can I get this guy for the next 2 to 3 years and think that he's going to actually be an elite productive asset?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because he's not showing any signs of slowing down. I think he's actually even more invigorated by having a better lifestyle, getting out of Green Bay. I think that makes a huge difference. And like I said, if he gets reunited to Aaron Rodgers, now we're looking at wide receiver 1 category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
he definitely goes up on the list. Like I said, this was done, I think 2 days ago. So as of that moment, this is what I had. So DK Metcalf at 12, too high, too low. We got to run through these pretty quick.
See, I would drop him down.
Okay.
And I would be moving Devontae in front of him.
Okay. Do you agree, Jorge?
I would put
Yeah.
Devontae over DK. It's hard for me to have Devontae out of the top 10 because I do think for the next just like Sheilor said, I think the next 2 to 3 years, I think Devontae Adams is still going to be elite,
And in
especially
the
if he's got
startup,
Aaron Rodgers
in the
in the
startup,
start.
Jorge, are you taking Devontae over DK?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
yes, because
I,
in a
I,
startup, I'm always trying to win now.
good
I
deal.
want to win in the first year. I'm almost treating it like redraft at that point. I want to win. I want Devontae Adams. That's a bad
Good
man.
deal. Good deal.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. All right. So at number 12, I have Devontae Smith. He's a guy that I said in the video, in a couple years, he takes over. He ends up being the best wide receiver on the Eagles in the next 2 years, maybe sooner. Shilor, thoughts?
I love me some Devontae Smith. Y'all know that. I think he has elite skill sets. My comp for him coming out was Marvin Harrison, the OG
Mm.
Marvin Harrison, the daddy. Same kind of frame, outstanding route running, always open. That's the guy. I think for me, I would probably even have him higher. But I think 12 is a good spot for him to be. But I probably have him in my top 10 when my rankings come out.
So Devontae, I actually had number 11. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still right there. 10, 11. I think that's a good spot for him.
Okay. Now this one, you guys are gonna kill me for this one, but Tommy, Cooper Cup at number 10. Is that too low or too high or just right?
too low. I know we're gonna have to bring somebody down because we keep saying they're too low. But I think it's too low. I think Cooper Cup's 29, correct? He had this one major injury. Other than that, listen, I think and Cup came into the NFL already old. So, I'm riding the Cup train. So I think Cup's too low. I got mine.
Jorge?
The Ram fan in me is coming out a little bit, but I mean, gosh, his points per game were almost the same. I think that's what you mentioned. I think his points per game were almost the same
Mhm.
as they were in his record-setting year. And Allen Robinson did not show much. So I'm like, I think he's going to be getting fed 10 to 12 targets every week.
Mhm.
And he would have been there from the reports that I heard, he would have been able to come back if they were playing for something. But
Yeah.
when it was a lost season, it was like, why bring him back?
But see,
And
like
let
for
him,
me, I don't trust Matthew Stafford as much as Sheilor does. So that's kind of where we disagree.
oh,
He
I get
thinks
that.
that Matthew Stafford comes back to the same level that he was a couple years ago. Sheilor, thoughts on that?
Matthew Stafford was terrible this year. Did that affect Cooper Cup?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Cooper Cup was literally wide receiver 1 all the way up until when he got hurt.
Mhm.
So for me, getting the worst version of Matthew Stafford, yeah, Cooper Cup needs to go up.
All right. At number 9, I have Garrett Wilson, possibly my favorite person on this entire list. But I have him at number
so
9.
beautiful.
So it's Garrett Wilson. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is going down because you guys are pushing so many people
Yeah,
up.
He's-
So
I
I
think
like him.
it's
I think 10, 11, 12. That's a good spot for Garrett right there.
okay.
see, I'm dropping him down further because of what's going on in the situation right now. If we're going to dock anybody for uncertainty in the situation, I think it's Garrett Wilson. You have a defensive coach. You have a program that's going to be designed to kind of run that offense through Brees Hall. And you're going to have a new quarterback in there. So we do know that. So that's actually positives. But I'm looking at game script and things of that nature. I don't know that offense is set up because this is essentially the 49ers offense. I don't believe that their offense was set up for there to be like this elite productivity. I believe there's still elite talent there, but there's no way if I'm looking at that 2 to 3 year window that I'm going to put him over some of these guys that I know for sure are going to get the target share. I mean, just look at the targets like it's there. Look at what actually happened from a productivity standpoint. But I think if we're looking at it from a long game, like the long runway, then definitely I can see the case for it. So it's all about your perspective when you're kind of setting up a ranking, because I think Garrett Wilson has the potential to kind of be that guy. But I think we're looking more on the potential versus what's actual right now.
Right.
Yeah, for me, I looked at Garrett Wilson as a guy who had Zach Wilson and who's that other bum, Mike White, and actually looked better with Mike White. And this guy actually put up 1,100 yards with those bums. And you give this guy anybody, you give this guy Daniel Jones. and that's easily 1,300 with Daniel Jones. Yes,
Mhm.
A
I'm
lot of
just
garbage
saying.
time. A
I'm
lot of
just saying
garbage
the
time yards.
quarterbacks that
too.
Garrett Wilson had were so bad.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore was not. He was not a factor. So when I look at it, this guy can only go but up. I'm just saying. And then we don't know what happens defensively. They might lose some guys, and then that defense might get worse. And then, like you said, game script. I'm hoping for a game
Yeah.
script where they're trying to
That
come back a lot.
defense has those young studs,
Mhm,
and they're building a bully over there
mhm.
defensively.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're looking
Yeah.
at a Brees Hall led offense with that kind of defense, the personality of the coach, New York City. That's typically what you see when you see good teams out of New York. You see them,
Mhm.
same thing with the Giants. You see them lean on that defense and running game. The weather out there getting cold, all that kind of stuff. It plays a big factor when you're looking at elite productivity from receivers.
All right. So number 8, Stephon Diggs. Jorge, too high, too low, just right.
Ooh, I think he feels just about right. I would like to get him a bit higher, but I don't know who I'm taking out ahead of him on your list.
Okay.
Just an elite receiver, an elite wide receiver one. He's got an elite quarterback. To me, it's just the age. He's the same age as Devontae Adams, but he's got that guy. But I would very much like him on my team still.
Yeah, the receptions and the touchdowns just speak for itself. Forget the yards. Just look at the receptions, look at the
Yeah.
touchdowns. I don't think we've seen a guy that gets those kind of receptions and those kinds of touchdowns consistently. Obviously, you have Devontae Adams. You know, he does his thing, but Diggs is something else. Tommy?
Diggs is nice. I would wonder what's Diggs' contract situation currently. I think they re-signed him, so maybe it's not a factor. But I would say that my only thing about him that I would probably pay attention to was probably his contract, and what the Bills' numbers are looking like. That's probably it. Other than that, I think it feels right
All
in
right.
this area.
We are in the last 5 minutes of rapid fire. Tariq Hill at 7. Shilor. Too high, too low, just right.
I would have him higher because I think you got some folks ahead of him. But yeah, wide receiver one last year. Definitely hire Tyreek Hill, please.
All right. At number 6, Jalen Waddle. Too high, too low, just right. Jorge.
Gosh, I could maybe flip flop him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's that. I mean, it's razor thin. It's razor thin. I love both of them.
Mhm.
Love both.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into my explanation on why I flip flop them, but Amon-Ra St. Brown at 5. Tommy, too high, too low, or just right?
Just right. To be honest with you, listen, that guy is going to continue to get fed. I mean, that production that he's giving you right now, unless there's a major injury, you can count on it for the next 2 to 3 years. You book it. Top
Yep.
five receiver production from that guy.
I mean, you said it for me. I take his receptions over Jalen Waddle's yards, but Jalen Waddle does score a touchdown. But I think that there's more touchdown opportunity for
So,
St. Brown next year. In a
so we're
nutshell,
speaking in PPR terms too.
yeah, PPR,
We need to make sure that's clear.
yeah, PPR, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, this guy's receptions. He reminds me of, like, in terms of production, a baby Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen getting
Yes.
those 100
Yeah.
receptions. Like, he's not fast. He's not this. He just gets it done. And those receptions are going to come in handy over yards and touchdowns at times. Not all the time, at times. And with that offense, I just love the upside for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Shilor, AJ Brown at 4. I kind of struggle with this. AJ Brown at 4. Too high, too low, or just right?
For me, it's too high. I think he has a talent. I think we just saw him put together a career season. He does have Devontae Smith right there with him as well. So to me, I probably would move him down to about 7, and I would have him and like Devontae Smith really closer together because productivity wise, they're there, and I think they're going to bounce off each other. So that would be my
Good
analysis.
deal. Good deal. CD Lamb, a guy that I've roasted for years. He finally did something. Jorge, CD Lamb, talk to me.
I'd be honestly. At first I thought it was a little aggressive to put him at number 3, but then I thought, you know what? He's flying solo in that offense, and he and Dak have the perfect rapport. He's young. I think he's only 23, so you could get 10 years out of him. It's hard to argue with him. And worst comes to worst, if you want to trade him and get a boatload of something, you're going to have a Cowboys fan in your league that's gonna want to give up a whole bunch for him. That's why.
Yeah, I know somebody who just gave up a whole bunch just to get CD Lamb in a startup, but I'm not going to call that person out. That person is here today. I'm not going to call him out. It was wild. It was wild. I've never seen somebody trade up like that for a receiver that wasn't one of these top two guys that I'm about to mention next. So the last question for everybody. So I'm going to start with Sheila. Who's your number one?
Jefferson.
Okay, Tommy, who's your number one?
Jefferson.
Yeah, I would say Jefferson's my number one at the moment.
Jorge, who's your number one?
You know what? I'm deferring. I'm Jamar Chase.
Okay.
I think.
Could you explain?
Well, the big thing is I think he's got the better quarterback, and he really got fed. He was up 10 plus targets almost every week, especially after he came back from his hip injury. And so that's why I think Jamar Chase, he's just a little bit more talented, a little more physically gifted. Justin Jefferson got a little bodied a little bit, but but again, it's splitting hairs. I'm probably taking Chase 101 and Jefferson 102.
I mean, I feel you. I mean, with the games that he missed, he still had 1,000 yards. I mean, that was amazing. He had the touchdown numbers. He had the targets, like you said. What I would like to see out of Jamar Chase is more catches. The catches need to go up. But he's one of those guys that doesn't really even need catches because he gets the ball and scores touchdowns. He's special. He reminds me a lot of a Tyreek Hill in terms of get the ball, score. See ball, score. That kind of thing. So he's not a guy that necessarily needs the catches. I think Jefferson does because he's playing with a weaker quarterback. But Jefferson, man, that's my number one right now as of today. This could change. These rankings are going to change. This was the toughest thing I ever had to do, was to rank these 15 or just to pick 15 guys and put them where I felt they should go based off of situation, upside, age. And that's what I look at when I build my dynasty rankings, because age is an important thing. And then also philosophy of the style of play. So obviously Jorge is going to say a lot of these guys should be higher because he's a win now kind of guy. I'm kind of like in the middle. Sometimes I win now, sometimes I win later. Sheila likes to build from scratch and then, win. And he's done it different ways. Tommy's kind of in between. So for me, it was tough with these OGs, man. These OGs are special, but I just had to put them in the list somewhere. Didn't really know how to rank it, especially being Dynasty. If it's redraft, I know who's 1, 2, 3, 4. But with Dynasty, it's a lot of things to consider. Teammates, quarterback, situation, offense, scheme, game script. It was a lot. It was tough. I think this took me a long time. And I scratched out people, put people back, scratched them out again, put people back. It was wild, man. It was wild. So yeah, and I think I actually messed up on my list. I saw where I flip-flopped Garrett Wilson and Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp was actually 9, and Garrett Wilson was 10. But that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
It does, man. It made more sense now.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, man. It was tough. So, man, this has been a great episode, man. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can the people find you, my brother?
Oh, well, thank you guys, and Sheila, Razman, Tommy, just what a pleasure. Manny, thank you always for being my go-to guy when it comes to all things Washington. You can find me at Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter, and our YouTube page is Familia FFB. So just go on there, check us out. You'll see Manny there every once in a while. So those things are archived. So see how right he was.
There we go.
Hey, I made some good calls. I told
Yes,
you
you
Brian
did.
Robinson Jr. And there was another one that I told you. I think it was Jared Patterson.
Yeah, no,
he
Jahan
won you a
Dotson.
playoff game.
Jared Patterson, yes, he won me a championship. He won me a
He won you a
championship in
championship.
21.
So I'm glad
But
I can help.
you were high on Jahan Dotson too. So
Yep.
that one I gave you all the glory on that one.
Yeah. So appreciate that, man. Sheila, where can the people find you, my brother?
Find me on Twitter, 3D Sheila.
Good deal. Razman, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Forward Moving Team.
Good deal. So, guys, once again, you are listening to the Dynasty Overload, a fantasy podcast. Such a great show. We appreciate our guest, Jorge, for coming on. Razman in the building, Sheila, and myself, Manny. Great show. We will catch you guys on that next one. We out.
That's it.
Peace.